After I was kidnapped, my family was practically relieved. They were relieved it had been me instead of Lucas, my older brother, the one they had actually meant to snatch. By the time the police rescued me, he had already slipped away. I was a mess, blood oozing from nearly every wound, my clothes torn, my hair matted. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream. Not a sound escaped me. The doctors later diagnosed me with emotional apathy. No sadness. No anger. No fear. It wasn't numbness, it was emptiness, a void where feelings used to live. And yet, for the first time in my life, I felt free. Of course, that freedom didn't last long. By the time I returned home, the house was a ghost. Empty. Silent. Even the furniture was gone. Calls to Martha, our housekeeper, confirmed the worst. They had moved without leaving a forwarding address. I tracked them down to the new place. When I walked in, my family was already seated at the dining table, dinner steaming in front of them. They looked uncomfortable. "Why didn't anyone tell me you were moving?" I asked, my voice hoarse from a hospital. Mrs. Davis's tone was casual, almost dismissive, as if we were discussing dessert instead of the upheaval of my life. "Lucas has been having nightmares. Kidnapped dreams. We thought the old house, maybe it wasn't good for him. So we moved." "You're back just in time," she added, gesturing toward the table. "Sit and eat with us." The dishes were all Lucas's favorites. Roast chicken, buttery potatoes, creamy pasta. My face was hidden behind thick bandages. I limped when I walked. Not a single person seemed to notice or care. The old me would have crumbled. But now, I felt nothing. Lucas leaned forward suddenly, his voice shaking, his fingers nervously tapping the table. "I've been so scared these past few days. I didn't even dare leave the house. Mom and Dad stayed home with me. You don't blame me, do you?" Before I could respond, Mr. Davis waved me off. "Come on, Hyman. It's not that serious. You're brothers. Cut each other some slack." I didn't know how to react. I had been the one kidnapped. Lucas laughed, a warm, easy laugh, trying to mask his fear. "I just didn't want you to overthink it. Hyman's always been so independent, braver than me. I really envy people with courage." He picked up a shrimp and dropped it into my bowl with a playful grin. I froze. Slowly, I set my fork down. I was allergic to shrimp. No one at the table remembered. No one. I was Hyman. Lucas was my brother, my only family by blood. A fortune teller had once whispered to my parents that my life would be difficult, that they shouldn't raise me. They sent me away to live with distant grandparents in a remote town. And now, even back home, it felt like I was a stranger in my own family. All those years, they had barely visited me. My grandparents had been my world, my only anchors, and I had thought coming home would be a relief, a return to family. But hope quickly dissolved the moment I stepped into that house. The day I was kidnapped replayed in my mind like a broken film. Lucas had insisted on taking a deserted alley, claiming he needed to find a restroom after a few steps and telling me to wait. Then, everything went dark. I'll never forget it. Fist after fist, blow after blow, pounding into me, venting rage that wasn't meant for me. I wasn't the target. They had wanted Lucas. My family refused to pay, ensuring the kidnappers didn't get a single dime. 3 days of starvation. 3 days of torture. My throat raw, my voice gone. When the police finally burst in, the kidnappers were about to strip me completely. Blood blurred my vision, but I forced my eyes open, looking for anyone from my family. No one came. I wanted to cry, but no tears would fall. The doctors later said it was post-traumatic stress disorder manifesting as emotional apathy. Medically, I was fine, but inside, I felt nothing. The hospital room had been empty. After the investigating officers left, no one else had come. Now, back at the dinner table, my family treated me like I didn't exist. The three of them laughed and chatted, a perfect picture of a happy family. I had once tried so hard to join in, to be part of it. Today, I did nothing. I casually grabbed a napkin and wiped my hands. "Which room am I staying in?" I asked. Mrs. Davis paused, fumbling. Lucas jumped in. "The other rooms haven't been tidied yet." "Hyman, don't blame Mom and Dad. They've been so busy, they just can't keep up." He sounded protective, but I knew better. He was hinting that I was being inconsiderate, something he had done countless times himself. "Did I say I blame them?" I asked softly, placing the napkin down. My voice was flat, detached. "I'll just pick an unoccupied room. Enjoy your dinner." I walked upstairs slowly, their voices drifting after me. Who did he inherit that prickly attitude from? Don't take it to heart. Come on, Lucas, you haven't had any of my special stew yet. I closed my bedroom door, shutting them out. That evening, Chloe came home. She wasn't Mr. or Mrs. Davis's biological child, but Lucas and I had always called her sister. I had dreamed of having an older sister, someone to stand up for me. Chloe fit that image perfectly, except she had always protected Lucas, not me. The moment she stepped through the door, she was hostile. Her gaze never once landed on me, her posture declaring me unwelcome. How had I been so naive before? Despite her coldness, I had once wanted to be close to her, to care for her, to give her gifts. I had envied Lucas, envied Tim, envied anyone who received the family's love. But now, stripped of emotions, their actions seemed deliberate, almost theatrical, and utterly uninteresting. I felt a faint hunger, but Chloe noticed I hadn't spoken and glanced at me. Twice. Hey, your stuff, she said, holding out a beautifully wrapped gift bag. I recognized it immediately. The birthday gift I had personally polished and crafted, jewelry I had chosen with care. I had given her countless gifts before, each one returned publicly, each one a small humiliation. She and Lucas seemed to take pleasure in trampling my dignity. This time, though, my attention wasn't on her. The table was full of seafood, all of it inedible to me, and even looking at it made my wounds throb faintly. Lucas, breaking the silence, reached for the gift. Oh, what beautiful jewelry. He must have put a lot of thought into this. You should keep it. Chloe pursed her lips. Keep it, she said, as if the word was poison. Accepting it would mean accepting me. But she didn't want that. No, she said sharply. Take it back. Her tone left no room for argument. My stomach ached, my hunger gnawing, but I no longer cared about their games. I started to rise. Chloe, misreading my movement, grabbed my wrist. Take your stuff away. Lucas's eyes lingered on me, enjoyment flickering in the past, the way he always had when watching me squirm. What? I thought, my patience finally snapping. I picked up the jewelry and tossed it into the trash can. Throw away what you don't want. I'm leaving. The table went silent. This version of me was unfamiliar, unrecognizable. I ignored their stares and walked away. Chloe felt a strange pang, a twinge of something she couldn't name, as she watched the figure she had long scorned disappear from the room. Lucas's hand froze midair, fork clenched tightly. I found myself in what must have been a storage room. Bare walls, a single window with no curtains, and a mattress still wrapped in plastic leaning against the corner. No one had bothered to set it up. The room smelled of dust and neglect, but it was mine. That was enough. I dragged the mattress to the floor, tore off the plastic, and lay down fully clothed. My wounds throbbed beneath the bandages, a dull reminder that my body, at least, still registered pain even if my mind couldn't process it properly. Sleep didn't come easily. Instead, I stared at the ceiling, tracing cracks in the plaster, my thoughts unnervingly quiet. The old Hyman would have cried himself to sleep, replaying every slight, every rejection. But now there was only silence, vast and strangely peaceful. Footsteps passed by my door twice during the night. Both times they paused, hesitated, then moved on. I wondered who it was. I didn't care enough to check. By morning, I had made a decision. I couldn't stay here, not permanently. I needed to rebuild my life on my own terms, away from people who saw me as an inconvenient ghost haunting their perfect family portrait. I pulled out my phone, cracked screen, low battery, and scrolled through my contacts. There were exactly 3 people I could call. My late grandmother's lawyer, my high school counselor, and Martha, the housekeeper who had at least been honest with me. I chose Martha. Hyman. Her voice was warm but cautious when she answered. Are you all right? I heard about everything. I'm fine, I said, my voice still rough. Martha, I need a favor. Do you know if my grandparents left anything for me? Any property, money, anything? There was a long pause. Your grandmother did, actually. A small apartment downtown and some savings. Your parents were supposed to tell you when you turned 18, but they didn't, I finished. Of course they hadn't. I have the documents, Martha said quietly. Your grandmother gave them to me before she passed. She knew, Hyman. She knew they wouldn't treat you right. Something tightened in my chest. Not quite emotion, but a phantom of what grief might have felt like. Can you send them to me? I'll do better than that. I'll bring them over today. After hanging up, I sat on the edge of the mattress, processing this information. An apartment. Savings. A way out. My grandmother had given me an escape route even from beyond the grave. Downstairs, I could hear the family stirring, the clink of dishes, Lucas's laughter, Mrs. Davis's voice directing someone to pass the orange juice. A normal morning for them. They had probably already forgotten our confrontation from the night before. I showered in the hall bathroom, changed my bandages with mechanical precision, and dressed in the least damaged clothes I could find in my bag. When I went downstairs, they were all still at breakfast. The conversation stopped when I entered. "Good morning," I said neutrally, heading straight for the door. "Where are you going?" Mr. Davis asked, not looking up from his newspaper. "Out." "Will you be back for dinner?" Mrs. Davis asked, her tone suggesting she hoped the answer was no. "Probably not." I left before anyone could respond, stepping into the cool morning air. For the first time since the kidnapping, I felt something close to relief. Martha met me at a small cafe 3 blocks from the house. She looked older than I remembered, her hair grayer, her eyes sadder. When she saw my bandaged face, she gasped. "Oh, Hyman, it's fine," I said, sitting down across from her. "It looks worse than it is." She didn't believe me, but she let it go. Instead, she slid a manila envelope across the table. "Everything's in here. The deed to the apartment, bank account information, some letters from your grandmother." I opened the envelope carefully. Inside were documents, keys, and 3 sealed letters with my name written in my grandmother's shaky handwriting. My fingers traced the letters, and I felt that phantom sensation again, the ghost of emotion. "She wanted you to have choices," Martha said softly. "She told me once that she regretted letting your parents send you away. She thought if she gave you independence, you could escape them when you were ready." "How much is in the account?" I asked. "About 50,000. Not a fortune, but enough to live on while you figure things out. The apartment's paid off, no mortgage. Your grandmother was frugal." $50,000. A paid-off apartment. I was 18, barely graduated from high school, and suddenly I had more stability than I'd ever known. "Thank you, Martha," I said, "for keeping these safe." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Her touch was gentle, careful of my wounds. "Your grandmother loved you very much. Don't let them make you forget that someone did." After she left, I sat alone at the cafe for another hour, reading the letters. My grandmother's words were simple but powerful. "Hyman, my dear boy, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you better. I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough to stand up to your parents. But I'm giving you what I can, freedom. Use it well. Build a life that makes you happy. Don't waste time trying to earn love from people who refuse to give it. You deserve better. Love, Grandma." The second letter contained practical advice about maintaining the apartment and managing money. The third was shorter. "P.S. Your grandfather and I always knew you were special. That fortune teller was a fraud, and your parents were fools to believe her. You were never the problem. Remember that." I folded the letters carefully and placed them back in the envelope. Then I took out my phone and looked up the apartment address. It was in a decent neighborhood, close to the community college. I could start classes in the fall, work part-time, build something real. I didn't go back to the Davis house that day. Instead, I went to see my new apartment. The apartment was small, a studio with a kitchenette, a bathroom barely large enough to turn around in, and a single large window that overlooked a quiet street. But it was clean, furnished with my grandmother's simple taste, and most importantly, it was mine. I stood in the center of the room, turning slowly, taking it all in. The couch was worn but comfortable. The bed was neatly made with a faded quilt I remembered from childhood visits. There were even dishes in the cupboards, as if my grandmother had prepared it for me years ago, and simply waited. For the first time in weeks, I felt something, a tiny flicker of something that might have been hope, or maybe just the memory of hope. I couldn't tell anymore. I spent the day cleaning, organizing, making the space truly mine. I found my grandmother's books on a shelf, novels, poetry, philosophy. I found her old radio, still working. I found photographs tucked into drawers. Me as a child, smiling with my grandparents, before I'd learned what it meant to be unwanted. That boy in the photos felt like a stranger. My phone buzzed repeatedly throughout the day. Messages from Mrs. Davis, asking where I was. Lucas sent one message. "You're worrying, Mom." Chloe didn't text at all. I responded only once. "I found Grandma's apartment. I'm staying here." The response was almost immediate from Mrs. Davis. "Don't be ridiculous. Come home." I didn't reply. By evening, I had made the space livable. I ordered food delivery, careful to avoid anything I was allergic to, and ate sitting on the couch, watching the sun set through my window. The silence was profound, but it wasn't lonely. It was peaceful. My phone rang. Mr. Davis this time. I answered. Hello. Hyman, what's this nonsense about staying in some apartment? You have a home. I have a room with no furniture in a house where no one notices when I'm bleeding, I said calmly. This is better. You're being dramatic. You're barely out of the hospital. Which none of you visited. I interrupted. My voice was still flat, factual rather than accusatory. Mr. Davis, I'm not trying to punish anyone. I'm just choosing to live somewhere I want it. Now, hold on. The apartment was my grandmother's. She left it to me. I'm 18. Legally, I can live here. There was a long silence. Then, does this mean you're not coming back? For my things, yes. To live? No. Your mother will be upset. Mrs. Davis will recover, I said. I almost added that she'd probably be relieved, but I kept that to myself. I'll come by this weekend for my belongings. I hung up before he could respond. The apartment felt even quieter after that call. I lay on the bed, my bed, and stared at the ceiling. The cracks here formed different patterns, less chaotic than in the storage room at the Davis house. I fell asleep with the radio playing softly, classical music my grandmother had loved, and for the first time since the kidnapping, I slept through the night. Saturday morning arrived with rain. I stood outside the Davis house, umbrella in hand, staring at the front door. 3 days had passed since I'd moved out. 3 days of silence from my family, broken only by occasional texts from Mrs. Davis asking if I was being reasonable yet. I rang the doorbell. Lucas answered, surprise flickering across his face. Hyman, you actually came back. For my things, I clarified, stepping inside. Water dripped from my umbrella onto their pristine hardwood floor. Lucas winced. The house felt different now, like a museum I was visiting rather than a place I'd lived. Mrs. Davis appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel, her expression carefully neutral. Well, she said, I see you're serious about this independence phase. It's not a phase. We'll see. She turned back toward the kitchen. Lucas, help your brother pack. Take whatever you need from the storage room. The storage room, not your room. The distinction was clear. Lucas followed me upstairs, his footsteps hesitant. You know, he said as we climbed, everyone's been really worried about you. Have they? It wasn't a question. Yeah, Mom's been upset. Dad thinks you're going through some kind of crisis. Chloe, he paused. Chloe hasn't said much, but she's been weird. We reached the storage room. My few possessions were still scattered about, clothes, books, some personal items. I pulled a duffel bag from the closet and started packing methodically. Lucas lingered in the doorway, watching. Is this because of the dinner thing? The shrimp? I didn't remember you were allergic. It was an honest mistake. I folded a shirt, placed it in the bag. Lucas, do you know when my birthday is? What? My birthday. Do you know the date? He hesitated. June, March 15th. It was 2 months ago. I continued packing. Do you know what size shoes I wear? What my favorite color is? What I want to study in college? That's not fair. I know everything about you, I said calmly. You're allergic to peanuts and cats. Your birthday is August 22nd. You want to study business. Your shoe size is 10.5. Your favorite color is blue. You like action movies but pretend to like documentaries because Dad respects that more. You're afraid of heights but won't admit it. Should I keep going? Lucas's face had gone pale. Hyman. I'm not angry, I said, and it was true. Anger would have required caring. I'm just done trying to be part of something I was never invited into. That's not true. We're family. You're family, I corrected. I'm the person they send away when it's convenient and forget when it's not. I zipped the duffel bag and slung it over my shoulder. Lucas stepped aside as I moved toward the door, then grabbed my arm. Wait, just give us a chance to do better. We can try. Lucas. I looked at him directly. Do you actually want me to stay? Or do you just want to not feel guilty about me leaving? He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No words came out. That's what I thought. I pulled my arm free gently. It's okay. You don't have to pretend anymore. Downstairs, I found Chloe in the living room, pretending to read. She looked up when I entered, her eyes lingering on the bandages still covering parts of my face and arms. "You're really leaving," she said. "Yes. Because of us." "Because of me," I corrected. "Because I deserve better than this." She set her book down. "You think we're terrible people. I think you're people who never wanted a third son, and I'm tired of trying to change that." I headed for the door. "Hyman." Her voice stopped me. "That jewelry you gave me, the birthday present." She swallowed. "I didn't throw it away. I kept it." I turned, surprised. She looked uncomfortable, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen. "Why?" I asked. "I don't know. I just couldn't." She stood up, wringing her hands. "You've always tried so hard. With all of us. And we've been awful to you. I've been awful to you." "Yes," I agreed simply. She flinched. "I'm sorry." "Okay. Just okay? What do you want me to say?" I asked. "That I forgive you? That we can start over?" "Maybe." I studied her face, the genuine discomfort there, the nascent guilt finally surfacing. "Chloe, I can't feel the way I used to. The doctors say it might come back, might not. Right now, I can't summon the energy to hate you, but I also can't find it in me to forgive you. I'm just neutral." "That's worse," she whispered. "Maybe." I adjusted the duffel bag on my shoulder. "But it's honest." Mrs. Davis appeared in the hallway, arms crossed. "So you're really doing this? Moving out, cutting us off?" "I'm not cutting anyone off. You're welcome to visit, to call. But I'm not coming back here to live. You're barely an adult. You think you can make it on your own? I guess we'll find out." Mr. Davis emerged from his study, documents in hand. "If you're so determined to be independent here." He thrust the papers at me. "Medical records, birth certificate, social security card. You'll need these." I took them, tucking them carefully into my bag. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. I think you're making a mistake, but I won't stop you." He paused. "Your grandmother spoiled you with that apartment. Gave you an easy out." "She gave me what you never did," I said quietly. "A place where I'm wanted." The words hung in the air. Mrs. Davis looked away. Mr. Davis's jaw tightened. Lucas, coming down the stairs with another box of my things, froze mid-step. Only Chloe held my gaze, something unreadable in her expression. "I'll come back for anything I missed," I said, breaking the silence. "But otherwise, goodbye." No one moved to stop me as I walked out. No one called after me. The door closed behind me with a soft click, and I stood on the porch in the rain, my bags at my feet, finally completely free. The community college enrollment office smelled like coffee and photocopier toner. I sat across from a guidance counselor named Miss Park, who reviewed my transcripts with practiced efficiency. "Your grades are excellent," she said, smiling. "Have you thought about what you'd like to study?" "Psychology," I answered. "Maybe social work." She raised an eyebrow. "That's a challenging field. Lots of emotional labor." "I know." I gestured vaguely at myself. "I have a unique perspective." 2 weeks had passed since I'd moved out. The bandages were mostly gone now, replaced by thin scars that the doctors promised would fade. My face was my own again, even if I barely recognized the person looking back from mirrors. Ms. Park scheduled my classes: Introduction to Psychology, English Composition, Statistics, and a General Education elective. I'd start in the fall semester, 3 months away. In the meantime, I needed a job. I found one at a bookstore near my apartment. The owner, Mr. Chin, was an elderly man who asked few questions and seemed to appreciate that I was quiet and reliable. The work was simple: shelving books, managing the register, helping customers find obscure titles. It paid enough to cover food and utilities, and my grandmother's savings could handle the rest. Life developed a rhythm. Wake up, work, read, sleep. Occasionally, I'd get a text from Chloe. Awkward attempts at conversation that I answered politely, but without enthusiasm. Lucas tried calling twice. I didn't answer. Mrs. Davis sent periodic messages asking if I needed anything. I always said no. The apartment became my sanctuary. I painted the walls a soft gray. Bought plants that didn't die immediately. Found a used laptop for schoolwork. Slowly, I was building something that felt like a life. One evening, a customer came in looking for a specific poetry collection. I found it for her, and as I rang it up, she smiled warmly. "You have a gift for this," she said. "For helping people find what they need." I blinked, surprised. "Thank you. Do you read much yourself?" All the time. What's your favorite? I thought about it. Right now? Anything about starting over? She left. Fresh start, huh? Good for you. After she left, I stood at the register, thinking about her words. A gift for helping people find what they need. Maybe that was something I could do, help others navigate the emotional landscapes I could no longer feel myself. That night, I opened one of my psychology textbooks early, reading ahead. The chapter on trauma and recovery detailed how people process horrible experiences, how they rebuild their sense of self. I read about emotional numbing as a protective mechanism, about the brain's way of creating distance from unbearable pain. I was a case study in my own textbook. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Hey Hyman, it's Tim. Chloe gave me your number. Heard you moved out. Wanna grab coffee? Tim. Chloe's boyfriend. Lucas's best friend. Someone who'd always been kind to me in a distant, pitying sort of way. I considered ignoring it, then decided against it. Sure. When? Tomorrow? 2 p.m.? There's a place near the college. Okay. The next day, I met Tim at a busy cafe. He was already there, 2 coffees on the table. He stood when I approached, and I saw shock flicker across his face. Probably my scars, now visible. Hyman. Hey. He gestured to the chair. Thanks for meeting me. I sat, accepting the coffee. Why did you want to meet? Tim had the decency to look uncomfortable. Honestly? Because Chloe's been a mess since you left. Lucas won't talk about it. Your parents act like nothing happened. And I feel like I missed something important. You did. Everyone did. I took a sip of coffee. But it's not your responsibility. What happened to you? He asked quietly. I mean, I know about the kidnapping. But you're different. I'm the same. You're just seeing me clearly now. That's not what I meant. I set my cup down. Tim, for my entire life, I tried to earn love from people who had already decided I wasn't worth it. Then I was kidnapped, tortured, and when I came back, literally nothing had changed. So my brain did me a favor and turned off the part that could feel hurt about it. He stared at me. That's the most fucked up thing I've ever heard. Yeah. And you're okay with this? I don't know how to not be okay with it. I don't feel okay or not okay. I just am. Tim ran a hand through his hair. Chloe said you threw away the jewelry right in front of everyone. That you've been cold every time she tries to apologize. She's right. Don't you think that's harsh? I considered the question. Maybe. But I don't have the energy to pretend anymore. I can't manufacture forgiveness. I don't feel. All I can offer is honesty. Honesty, Tim repeated. Is that what you call it? What would you call it? Self-protection. He leaned back. Look, I'm not saying your family wasn't shitty to you. They were. But completely cutting yourself off. I haven't cut anyone off. They can call, visit, text. I respond. I'm just not living in their house anymore. Because you can't feel anything. Because even when I could feel things, living there hurt. I met his eyes. Would you stay somewhere that made you miserable just because people expected you to? Tim opened his mouth, then closed it. No, I wouldn't. Then why should I? We sat in silence for a moment. Finally, Tim sighed. You're right. I'm sorry. I think I just wanted, I don't know, a villain to blame? Something that makes sense. Life rarely makes sense, I said. We just tell ourselves stories about it until it does. He laughed, a surprised sound. When did you get so philosophical? I have a lot of quiet time now. We talked for another hour about his classes, his relationship with Chloe, his own complicated family. He didn't try to convince me to reconcile with the Devises again. Instead, we just talked like 2 people getting to know each other for the first time. As we left, Tim paused. Hey, if you ever need anything, a ride, someone to talk to, whatever, you can call me. Not because of Chloe. Just because. Thanks, I said. And I meant it. Walking home, I realized that maybe this was what recovery looked like. Not a dramatic return of feeling, but small moments of connection. People seeing you, actually seeing you, and choosing to stay anyway. It wasn't love. It wasn't family. But it was something. And for now, something was enough. 3 months later, autumn arrived with crisp air and golden leaves. I'd started my classes at the community college, finding unexpected satisfaction in the structure and challenge. My psychology professor, Dr. Hayes, had taken an interest in my thoughtful contributions to class discussions about trauma and resilience. I was shelving books at work when Chloe walked in. I hadn't seen her since I'd moved out. She looked different, thinner, her usually confident posture slightly diminished. She spotted me immediately and walked over, hands shoved in her jacket pockets. "Hi," she said. "Hi. Can we talk?" I glanced at Mr. Chun, who nodded permission. "I'm on break in 10 minutes. There's a bench outside." She waited, browsing the store without really looking at anything. When my break came, we sat on the bench in front of the shop, watching people pass by. "How have you been?" she asked. "Fine. Classes started. Work is good." "That's good." She picked at her fingernail. "Tim said you two talked." "We did. He likes you. Says you're surprisingly insightful." "That surprises people," I observed. She almost smiled. "Yeah, I guess it does." She took a breath. "Hyman, I came because I need to apologize properly. Not a rush sorry in a hallway. A real one." I waited. "I was cruel to you," she continued. "For years. I don't have a good excuse. You were easy to dismiss and Lucas was easy to love, and I took the path of least resistance. I made you feel unwelcome in your own home. I treated your attempts at connection like they were annoying instead of brave." Her voice cracked slightly. "And then you were kidnapped, and I didn't visit the hospital, and you came back different, and I've been haunted by it ever since." "Okay," I said. She turned to look at me. "That's it? Okay. What else do you want me to say?" "I don't know. Anything. Yell at me. Tell me I'm terrible. Tell me you hate me." "I don't hate you. That's worse." She stood up, agitated. "God, Hyman, your complete lack of reaction is worse than if you screamed at me. At least then I'd know you felt something." "I do feel something," I said calmly. "I feel neutral appreciation that you're trying. I recognize that apologizing is difficult. I acknowledge that you're feeling guilty. But you don't forgive me." "I don't know how to. That emotion is unavailable right now." She sat back down heavily. "The doctor said it might come back. Your feelings? Maybe. And if they do, will you hate us then?" I thought about it. "I don't know. Maybe I'll be angry. Maybe I'll still feel nothing. Maybe I'll understand why you acted the way you did." I looked at her. "Does it matter?" "Of course it matters." "Why?" "Because," she stopped, frustrated. "Because you're my brother. Because I want you to care about us again." "I'm not your brother," I said gently. "I'm someone your parents took in who shares your space. We were never family, Chloe. Not really." "That's not true." "Isn't it?" I asked. "Name one time you defended me. One time you chose me over Lucas when he was cruel. One time you made me feel like I belonged." She opened her mouth, closed it. Tears welled in her eyes. "I can't. I know. But I want to," she whispered. "I want to be better. I want us to have a real relationship." I studied her face, the genuine remorse there, the desperate hope. "Chloe, I can't give you absolution. I can't make you feel better about the past. But I can tell you this. If you want to build something new, something real, I'm not opposed to it. It just can't be based on who we pretended to be. It has to be based on who we actually are now." "I don't even know who you are now," she admitted. "Neither do I said. "But I'm figuring it out." She wiped her eyes. "Can I visit you sometimes? Your apartment. If you want to." "I do." She stood up. "I should go. Let you finish your shift." "Chloe." She turned back. "The jewelry," I said. "The birthday present. If you still have it, you can keep it. Consider it a gift from who I used to be to who you're trying to become." She nodded, unable to speak, and walked away quickly. I sat for a few more minutes before going back inside. Mr. Chin looked up from his book. "Family?" he asked. "Something like that." "Family is complicated," he said wisely. "But so is being alone." "Yeah," I agreed. That night, I wrote in the journal Dr. Hayes had suggested I keep. It was supposed to help me process emotions I couldn't feel, to track any changes in my mental state. Today, Chloe apologized. I think she meant it. I still feel nothing about the past, but maybe that's okay. Maybe the point isn't to recover what was lost. Maybe it's to build something new from what remains. I'm not the boy who desperately wanted their love anymore. I'm not sure who I am instead. But I'm learning. And surprisingly, I think I'm okay with that. I closed the journal and looked around my small apartment. My books, my plants, my life. It wasn't what I'd imagined. It wasn't the family I dreamed of having. But it was mine. And for the first time in my 18 years, that felt like enough. Outside my window, the city lights twinkled. Somewhere out there, the Devises were having dinner, probably discussing Lucas's college applications or Chloe's latest achievement. They might mention me in passing, might wonder how I was doing, or maybe they wouldn't. Either way, I'd be fine. Because I learned the most important lesson: I didn't need them to validate my existence. I didn't need their love to prove I was worth loving. I just needed to keep moving forward, one day at a time, building a life that was authentically mine. The emotional apathy that had felt like a curse might actually be a gift, a clean slate, a chance to discover who I was without the weight of constant rejection crushing me. I wasn't healed. Maybe I never would be. But I was free. And that was a beginning.